in following the story about concussions. Well, I am delighted this morning to have with me a concussion specialist, Dr. Chad Stevens. And the big question that I have, and I'm sure the doctor can help me get the answer, should your child play football? Multiple news sources continuously report the dangers of both youth and professional football, but the sport continues to be as popular as ever. I loved it. So how can a parent decide if they are comfortable? Out of the children who play a sport in high school, 14% of those young people play football, according to the CDC report. So, again, let us welcome to our broadcast this morning Dr. Chad Stevens. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show this morning, Brad.
No, it's great to have you back with me. This whole thing is really stirring up a lot of parents. I know that for a fact. I've talked to some. What about it? Should a young child play football?
Well, I think it depends on the age we're discussing, Brad. But let's take junior high and below. I think it's a really difficult question for parents on when their child is ready to play. They need to take into consideration their child's desire to play, their child's athletic ability, their child's aggressiveness, and how they perceive their child to be in contact sports as they make those decisions. And then if they do decide to play, I think it's a family decision, one that requires some parental oversight, even at the practices, because at the collegiate and high school level, there are trainers present at practices and games. At the below that level, the Pop Warner level, there's oftentimes no athletic training staff around, and there's oftentimes no physicians around unless there just happens to be a doctor on the team. And so I think the parents are taking on a decision that allows their child to participate in a sport that they need to supervise closely themselves, so it's a family decision. I do think it's a sport that has a lot of benefits that kids experience, whereas some sports they start to learn to watch out for each other and guard each other's backs on occasion in a altercation or a scuffle. In football, it's every play. And so they learn the value of being involved in a battle situation and taking care of your brother and being a good teammate and being a less selfish player. And so there are some good benefits that come from playing contact sports, I believe.
And I agree with you. We have a great basketball team, the women at UConn, and they've got a fabulous freshman, Crystal Dangerfield is her name, and she hasn't played for a couple of games. And Gino Ariyama, who is just a great coach, is just taking the precaution because she had a concussion-like symptom, evidently, after she got through the other night, and so she's been out a couple of games just in case. So it's not just football.
No, it's not. I mean, it's prevalent. I mean, one of my worst concussion sufferers that I've seen recently is a girls soccer player. It's very prevalent in girls soccer. We've done some stories on the women's cheerleading and how competitive it's become. And every sport has concussions, and I see them in my practice. So the particular young lady you're talking about, Connecticut, there is a procedure we've talked about on there before, but we're getting such good results with this sphenopalatine ganglion block with a procedure called a spheno-cap that I would love to have a chance to help her or really anybody. But the soccer player I told you about just recently came into my office in a hoodie and with sunglasses on, hadn't had sunglasses off for a month. And I thought to myself, this is going to be a challenging case. But after her first spheno-cap, she was back feeling like herself again. And after a second one, she was asking to return to school and return to play. And so it's a really simple little office procedure we do, Brad, that in situations like Gino's patient might be able to get her back sooner. And I don't mean necessarily when it's unsafe to come back, but if she just has some kind of lingering balance issues or headache or other things of that nature, the Sphenocast might be able to really, get her back to school and studies and potentially back to play sooner.
Well, again, this is something that I wanted to cover with you. Again, we've talked before, because, you wonder why back, 15 years ago, that a time frame, there wasn't any talk about concussions. And were the kids still having concussions? That's my question that I've been thinking about for the last week.
Well, I think those kids you're talking about are the kids that have gone through high-level college and professional football. And so the answer is yes, they're having concussions, because we know there's an NFL class action lawsuit, right? And there's lots of different things going on as far as more awareness and more openness about it than there ever was. A lot of players say, well, I just was told, I just kept getting my bell rung. And what they meant is they were having concussions, and people didn't know whether it was safe or not safe to put them back in. They went back in the game. And so now we see, real life played out, family and social issues played out with the way people have dealt with the sequelae of long years after concussion. And so I think that's why we're seeing so much attention to it. And they're rightly so. It's a very important topic that if we pretend it's not there, we bury our head in the sand, is still going to be a problem. And so, like I've told you before, Brad, my idea is tackle it head on, no pun intended, but treat it quickly and treat it before it starts to become, a long-lasting visual, balance, light and sound sensitivity, headache, all those things that go along with it. Treat it quickly and get the person back to living their life at least, and if not, back to their sport.
Well, I'm delighted that you could give me the time this morning to Chad Stevens, and this is a big issue, no question about it.